Sodom Back to Gomorrah is a main story mission of Red Dead Redemption 2, and we are playing through every mission in order as part of our RDR2 mission series. This mission will make you rich. So let's start the mission. At camp, Bill launched in the back of a wagon with Karen, while Lenny stood nearby grinning. As Arthur approached, they turned their attention to him, eager to push their latest plan, a bank job in Valentine.
And Valentine. Now we was preparing to rob the bank there until
Despite the risks, they saw an opportunity for easy money and were not about to let Arthur refuse. Their persistence wore him down, leaving him with little choice but to agree. Without hesitation, they gathered their weapons and mounted up.
one of them things.
It's a good point.
As they rode out, the familiar sight of Valentine loomed in the distance. The town had seen its share of chaos from the gang before, and returning now was a risk. But with a job to do and money on the line, there was no turning back.
Easy, but I ain't gonna lie to you. There will be law if we linger.
And if serious?
No, just local boys being rounded up and pressed into action.
Meaning?
If we go in quick and quiet, we can hit it just fine. If there's four of us, I mean.
Y'all think it's worth the risk?
It's a bank, Arthur.
So? Is the take good?
According to the fella I met, yes. It's the end of the stock sales. Plenty of money and plenty of people milling about.
Okay, I suppose.
As Arthur and the others prepared to leave, Strauss approached with a familiar look of quiet urgency. He informed Arthur that Thomas Jones, one of his debtors, had died, leaving his wife and children to shoulder the burden of his unpaid loan. Strauss, ever cold and pragmatic, made it clear that the debt still needed collecting. He insisted Arthur pay them a visit when time allowed, ensuring they understood their obligations.
They were just gonna rush on in afterwards.
Arthur barely reacted, used to Strauss' way of doing business, but the news lingered in his mind. Another family struggling under the gang's grip, another task to deal with. For now, there was a bank to rob, and as they rode on, the town of Valentine loomed ahead, filled with both opportunity and danger. With their horses ready and weapons checked, Arthur and the crew set out towards Valentine. As they rode, the conversation turned to their plan. Karen, the key to their scheme, would create a distraction inside the bank, giving the rest of them the perfect opening to move in and control the situation. Lenny and Arthur would handle the vault, while Bill kept an eye on the hostages and ensured no one tried anything foolish.
We'll send Miss Jones ahead to the bank. They won't recognize her.
I'll show you boys how it's done.
What are you thinking this time?
I don't know. Fellers always like the lost little girl, but nobody plays a drunken harlot quite like me. Either should work.
Once she's got them distracted, we'll move in.
When I was
As the details unfolded, Bill could not resist airing his usual grievance. He grumbled about how Arthur always seemed to get off easy whenever things went south, while the rest of them faced Dutch's full wrath. His complaints carried on.
Hey, I'm more than willing.
Nah, best I do it.
Oh, and did Dutch tell you I've also been cooking up some deals with them Gray boys?
What? No. What kind of deals?
See, you don't realize, Morgan. I'm out there putting in the work same as you. I've been drinking with them a couple times now. Seems they're looking for some extra security.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Could be something in it.
His frustrations evident, but Arthur barely reacted, letting him vent. The town of Valentine was now within reach. The plan was set, the risks understood. Whatever happened next, there was no turning back. Karen slipped into character effortlessly, her voice trembling as she stumbled into the bank. Eyes wide with distress, she spun a convincing tale of being lost, separated from her family and desperate for help.
Even you long to save the fallen women, eh, Arthur? You break my heart. You really do.
If you're ready, get going.
Good luck, gentlemen.
We got this.
But I'm ruined.
The bank workers and patrons turned their attention to her, their concern overriding any suspicion. Just as planned, the moment they let their guard down, Karen struck. In an instant, she dropped the act, catching them off guard as the crew stormed behind her. Panic set in as Arthur, Lenny, and Bill moved swiftly to take control of the room. With weapons drawn and commands shouted, any thoughts of resistance were quickly crushed. The bank was theirs for the taking. Now, it was time to get work. With the bank under control, Arthur moved swiftly to the door beside Karen and forced it open. Inside, a nervous bank teller stood frozen, eyes darting between Arthur's gun and the wall behind him. Without hesitation, Arthur pressed the barrel against the man's head, demanding he opened it.
How's it looking? Are you in?
Nearly. This son of a bitch needs to get a move on.
Okay. Okay.
The teller hesitated, fear gripping him, but a few well placed strikes convinced him otherwise. Defeated, he scrambled to unlock the heavy wall door.
Son of a bitch, hurry up. Come on.
Okay.
I'm in. Someone come make sure the chute behaves himself in here.
Come here. Open the lockboxes now.
The manager does that.
God damn it. Now what?
Guess I'll crack them or blow them up. Keep an eye out. I'll be as quick as I can.
As the steel door creaked open, Arthur was faced with another choice: blow the safes open with dynamite or take a more careful approach. Opting for precision over chaos, he decided to crack them manually. Kneeling before the first safe, he turned the dial slowly, listening for the telltale clicks that signaled the right combination. One by one, the safes unlocked, revealing stacks of cash inside. The tension in the room remained thick, but the plan was working. Now, they just had to get out before things went south. Arthur worked carefully, rotating the safe's dial with precision. Each click echoed in the silence, a stark contrast to the chaos that would have erupted had they used dynamite. It was slower, but it kept the town unaware, for now. He followed the rhythm of the lock, adjusting his movements as needed, ensuring he did not misstep. One by one, the safes clicked open, revealing stacks of cash that were quickly stuffed into the bags. With the last safe cracked and the loot secured, it was time to move. Arthur and the crew wasted no time slipping out of the bank, keeping their weapons ready as they stepped onto the street. The moment their hooves hit the dirt, the sound of approaching lawmen shattered any hope of a clean getaway. Mounted deputies, alerted to the robbery, were closing in fast. The job was done, but now they had to fight their way out. With gunfire ringing out behind them, Arthur and the crew pushed their horses hard, weaving through trees and hills to shake the pursuing lawmen. The chase was tense, bullets kicking up dust as they thundered toward the railroad tracks. Just as an oncoming train roared down the rails, they made a final push, barely slipping across to the other side. The lawmen were forced to halt, unable to follow, and within moments the crew was safe.
All right. I think we lost him.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was...
Stupid and dangerous. Thank you, Bill.
We're alive.
Kept their breath, they regrouped. Arthur wasted no time distributing the take, ensuring everyone got their share. The job had been risky, but it paid off. With their pockets full, Bill, Lenny, and Karen turned back toward camp, satisfied with the haul. Arthur, however, had unfinished business. The weight of Stroth's earlier request pressed on him. With no more distractions, it was time to visit the Downs family and collect the debt. Arthur rode toward the Downs farm, the air heavy with the weight of his task. The land was in poor shape, the signs of struggle clear. As he approached the small, worn down home, Mrs. Downs emerged.
My husband's not cold in the ground and you've come back here.
Her expression is a mix of exhaustion and quiet defiance. Her son stood nearby, glaring at Arthur with undisguised resentment. Thought still young, his anger was unmistakable,
Have a choice.
a silent promise of future trouble.
He did good.
Arthur, unimpressed but aware of the boy's fury, offered a warning about seeking revenge.
Kid, you
A brief moment, but one that lingered, hinting at consequences yet to come.
wonder about eternity.
Despite her obvious distress, Mrs. Downs did not argue. Wordlessly, she retrieved what little money she could gather, handing it over with a reluctant but resigned expression. Arthur took it without a word of thanks. Business was business. With his job done, he turned away, mounting his horse and riding back toward camp, leaving behind a family broken not just by debt, but by the lingering shadow of his presence. Arthur rode back to camp with his pockets heavier than ever. The bank job had been a massive success, $20,000 in total, an amount few outlaws could ever dream of stealing in one go. After splitting the take, Arthur walked away with a solid $2,500, while the gang's savings swelled to $10,000. It was more than enough to keep them going for a long time. With that kind of money, camp upgrades were no longer just a possibility, they were a necessity. If Arthur had not been investing in better supplies, accommodations, or resources, now was the time to check the camp guide and make improvements. A better stock camp meant a happier, more efficient gang, and with the law growing more relentless, every advantage counted. For now, the job was done. The gang had struck big. But in the world of outlaws, fortune never lasted forever. Mission ends now. If you enjoyed this mission, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.